to go. Okay, so before I get into the webinar, I wanted to give a really big shout out to the Life Coach University, which is a pay it forward platform that I am a part of, providing free coach webinars, or pay it forwards, PIFs as we like to call them. And they have a number of amazing workshops and really good coaches. I will be sending some stuff out if you're on my subscriber list, a little bit about them. So welcome to the How Busy AF People Get Organized PIF. My name is Michelle Kevill. I am a certified life coach with the Life Coach School. I teach people how to process big emotions and create a balance in their work life. I also host the podcast, How to Deal with Big F-Word Feelings. And I also work in a fast-paced corporation as an analyst. I recently just got engaged. I have a puppy and 2 small guinea pigs named Chewy and Vader. And I am very excited to teach you the same system that I use to get organized as F. So, firstly, an agenda for today. So, I'll be going through what this is. I'm going to go talk about why this system and worksheets that I have supporting this is going to really change your life, just the before and the after that I saw in myself and my clients. I'm going to teach you how to use the system, and then we're going to talk about how to use the worksheets to manage your mind. If we have some time towards the end, we'll have a little bit of Q&A as well. And for context, if you've come from my ad or subscriber list, tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. my time, you'll be getting an email with the full worksheet and all of that. And a couple of days later, you'll also be getting a recording as well. If you come from somewhere else and you're new to this, head on over to just Michelle Kevill Coaching. You can sign up and you'll get the email tomorrow. If you still haven't got it, come send me a message. I'll send it through. So let's get into it. All right. So, oh gosh, we'll smooth this over a little bit as well. There we go. Okay. So really this organizational system that I have put together, all it is just one system with 6 steps and mind management. That's it. It's how I've created it is a funnel with 6 steps to guide you from a point where you're going from, I have all these things that I need to do, I don't know where to start, what should I do, to absolute execution. Now, here's the thing. If we were robots, then yes, we could just follow a system and just get it done. However, we're humans with brains. And sometimes our brains like to do a little bit of different things. They like to go off track. They worry about something else. And that's where the mind management is really, really key. The mind management, when you're sitting there and you're trying to get your work done, and then all of a sudden your boss is messaging you or someone's messaging you, and you have that urge that you want to go message them back. It's that all those things that pop up that are kind of derailing you to get things done. That's where mind management is so important. So I'd say the system, it's easy, it's general, it gives you a flow, you flow on through, but it's the worksheets that support this that we're going to go into more detail that's really going to help you start to observe, all right, where are the challenges when I'm following this funnel? Where am I dropping off? What mind management and things do I need to do to keep myself going? So we go into it. And I want to apologize for the small writing. So my mom is a teacher, and if she was watching this, she would be so embarrassed because she has beautiful whiteboard writing, and I am still working on the sizing. So I will read them out for you and go through it. So look, the before really is, and what I saw in my clients and also myself, and where this worksheet is really going to help you is if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you are forgetting tasks, if you are losing track of time, if you really don't know where things are at, if you cannot handle priorities changing, if you're constantly playing catch up, or if you're known for saying, I am busy AF. Side note, that's why I named it how to get busy people get, organized. That was a saying that I used to always say in my corporate job, and was known for saying that. Hence, I built the system and named it around that. So, why this is life changing, and if anything you take away from this is a really key thing, and why this is really effective. Oh, if I can open this texter, there we go. We're doing it. It's okay. The problem is when I talk about you being overwhelmed and you're forgetting things, you're losing track of time, is you're in a state really of anxiety, okay? So you're in this state, right? In a little circle here. You're in this state. The problem when you're in this state is that is not helping your prefrontal cortex. Oh, we are working with the writing today. There we go. We're working for it. When you're in this state, it is not helping this. Your prefrontal cortex is used to plan and organize this. The problem is when you're in a more anxious state, you're activating your limbic system, you are turning this off. And if you take away anything from this webinar, it's just knowing that information. Because when I started to understand this, when I've seen my clients start to understand this, you can start to pick up on patterns and figure out what is actually going to work for you. Because when you're able to turn this on and able to kind of dampen this down, which the system really uses this, the prefrontal cortex. And I would say the mind management and the worksheets, that's handling this. That's handling all these thoughts that are popping in that are like, oh, we need to go do this, etc., and move away. So what you get to really when you implement, I skipped a page there. There we go. When you implement this system, when you do the mind management, when you do the work, what you are creating and what you will be starting to work towards is you'll be starting to be more relaxed. You'll start to enjoy your job. You'll actually have the ability to take breaks, like a full hour lunch break, if that's what you want. You'll have the ability to actually work faster and more efficiently. You'll start to know where everything is at. You'll be able to handle priorities changing, and most importantly, you'll be able to create value. This is some of the things that happened in my own life when I started to implement this system, and I ended up getting promoted from it. And I've seen great results with my clients, specifically being able to enjoy your job again, being able to be like, this is a place that I like want to come to work and actually enjoy the thing I get paid to do. And because you're starting to curate, you're starting to work out a system and pattern that's good for you. And it's like building a muscle, really, especially with the mind management. It's lifting weights, and you start to basically nurture and create like a little organizational garden, really, that's really going to flourish and really going to help you perform at your best. So let's get into it. We're going to do it. All right. I pre-did the funnel because I'm not very good at drawing, guys. There we go. Look, it's 6 steps, but if I really summarize it, it's just into a funnel, really just 4 steps. And this is where we're going to go into more detail today. So the first one is the dump, or as I like to call the to-do dump truck. And this is where we're just emptying out our minds. We're just getting it all out on paper. It's like a stream of consciousness. We're getting everything out. The next is the prioritize section, which I call to do priorities and to do organization. This is where we take your kind of like blurb or mess or everything that's going on there, and we start to guide you, really guide you, just really gently start to get you to think about, okay, is this to-do list for work? Is this to do with like family? And then we start to get you to organize it a little bit more. If you've come again from my subscriber list, you'll see the matrix, and I'll take you through that as well. Then we get into the planning stage. So we have this all organized and prioritized. Now we need to start to plan it in our diary. We need to start to organize it. We need to do it in a way that is good for us as well. And I'd say the organizing section, that is where I have a worksheet called Compassionate Scheduling, which is really going to be key to help you with this. Because out of everything as well, which I'll go into more detail, I think the biggest thing people struggle with, especially if you're a perfectionist and a high achiever, is compassionate scheduling. You are overbooking yourself, basically, and burning out, and you're not working efficiently. I think the perfect example of this, which I used to hate hearing this back in the day, but it really makes sense for me now, was the axe metaphor, which is there are two people. One, person A just chops wood all day, and person B is chopping wood at a much faster rate than the other person. And person A is like, I've been working all day. Like, how did you do it? Person B is like, well, I sharpened my axe. And it's like, oh, when you sharpen your axe, you're able to get things done more quickly. When you implement a system and you manage your mind and you're using your prefrontal cortex and you're dampening the limbic system, the anxiety, the like, I want to run around and do everything, that is when you start to sharpen your axe. Your axe is super sharp. You can do more in less time. You become more efficient. And it's understanding this relationship with the brain that was key for me. Seriously, out of all of this, take that with you and know that key knowledge, because that really started to change things with me. And that's with the system, it starts to guide you. Because what I found was missing for my clients and myself is I felt some areas or some, organizational stuff, they'd focus mainly on like one part, such as the planning part. But I'm like, what about the part where I'm like really stressed out and my brain is like got all this stuff in my head and it's like, help. What about that part? So the to-do dump is perfect for that. And we'll go into more detail. Had to mention that metaphor. But anyway, then we go into the next part, and that is the execution part. That is execute and done. That is where we actually go and do the work. We stick to the schedule. We also, we learn from it. We don't judge and hate ourselves if we're not following it strictly. And the done part is so important, and it is not used enough, especially if you come from a corporate world. Someone's popped up something in the Q&A. Oh, I love it. Compassionate scheduling sounds useful. I don't think I give myself much compassion when I create my schedule. I usually try to cram in so much and then I get frazzled and overwhelmed. Yes, I'll do my best to look at the Q&A as well. I've got two screens here. But yes, that is so true. It's the biggest thing I saw with my clients and myself. I am still getting my balance right as well. And with done, oh my gosh. So it's really important to be looking at what you have done. How many times have you looked at what you're doing at the end of the day and thought, there were so many things I didn't do. Like your brain first goes to what you haven't done versus what you have done. It's like marks. Like I hear so many people who are like, oh, I only got 70 out of 100. I missed out on 30 marks. I'm like, what about the 70 you got? And that's the same with the done list. It's looking at what you got done, what you didn't get done. And it's a 2-second job where you just write it down. And I'll explain a little bit in a little bit. And I'm going to tell you why that is so helpful. Okay. All right. Let's get into it. Ignore 3. I realized I needed more room for that. So anyway, we're getting into it. All right. Okay, so the to-do dump. Like I was saying before, this is like everything that is going on in your head. Write it out. Me personally, I type it out. I'm much faster at typing than I am at writing. So I actually, it's literally like, okay, pretend you have a handbag, and if it's like my handbag, it's filled with stuff. You are just shaking it out, like just shake it out and get it all out there. This is a stream of consciousness. Everything in your head, you need to write it out. It is a dump. And I mean everything from dinner to taking the kids to daycare to like work projects. Everything goes here. The biggest challenge I saw with my clients is we kind of go into the priority section, right? In our head, we're like, okay, it's work. I need to start prioritizing. Problem is with that, and what I was finding myself is we're still in a little bit of this frantic energy. And if you're like me, I actually genuinely don't have a very good working memory. So I would forget things. And what we want to do with a dump, it's kind of like a thought download where you're just getting everything out on paper. Just everything that is coming up for you, write it out. We're not in the organizational stage yet. It's just like we're just throwing words out there. And another tip, it doesn't need to be pretty. That's why I called it the dump truck. It's meant to be messy. It's meant to be dirty. It's just words. It's just, for me, it is the most ugliest thing in mind. I typed this out on OneNote and it's just like a blurb of just everything. It's not pretty. That's fine. Pretty to-do lists feel good at the time because it feels like you're going to make a start and then you're going to be really motivated. That doesn't get the work done. So work with that energy. Just if you have a lot on your mind, that's fine. Just get it all out. Work with that energy. It's just a stream of consciousness. We're just getting it out there. So that is the first thing. The next one are to-do priorities. So you've got your dump truck. You've just dumped it all out there. Now we're going to start organizing. Now we're going to start thinking, okay, is this to-do list for home, for, I don't know, kids, for like work? Typically, like when I do this like explain my process, but I do this in the morning on a Monday for an hour, and it's typically for work. But I still write everything that's going on in my head because later on, when I'm organizing, so like I'm engaged, I'm getting, married, it'll pop up randomly in the morning that I need to work on so-and-so. It's there, but I don't need to think about it. I don't need to use that kind of, I don't know if you've ever had that feeling where you're like, oh, I got to remember that thing for the other thing. Yeah, you don't need to do that anymore because you've done the dump. You've got that. So now it's just like, I can calm down and I can start to prioritize. And that's what we start to do. So we start to focus, is this for work? Is this to-do list for today, for a week? For the to-do priorities, I strongly suggest writing it out. I used to type this out, and for some reason, writing it out, I was able to better organize things when I could write it out. There is some research out there around the connection between writing in our brain versus typing and just the difference there. So up to you. You can type it out if it works for you. But for me, I found dump truck, all the craziness, type it, priorities, write it on paper. So, but play around with what works for you. And then, yeah. And also if it helps, sometimes I highlight my to-do dump. So if it's like, okay, this is work, great. Start to highlight. These are the things. And then from there, I'll just start to organize it. It doesn't have to be organized from like highest to lowest, like highest priority to lowest priority. We'll get to that in the to-do organization. It's literally just, it's like priorities is kind of like the focus. So again, if it's for a day, then you would, hopefully not be doing everything. You'd be highlighting like some things. Versus for a week, you'd be highlighting a little bit more. Okay, so now this is where my awesome drawing skills get to come in. And I'm going to go through the to-do organization. So you can see from this how we're kind of funneling our brains, right? You start off really just like frantic all over the place. And then it's like hand holding. The system is hand holding you. And it actually does try to, like, yes, the worksheets will help, but I wanted to create something that helps you when you're in that frantic state like I used to be in, and I'm thinking like there's just too much to do. How do we help your brain? How do we calm down your limbic system and help your brain kind of guide it through gently to kind of, almost like, well, literally almost like coaching yourself. Like, it's okay. See, we're going to do this. And now we're going to break it down into this. And now we're going to put into a little matrix and we'll go from there. All right. So this is what we do. Sorry, I've obviously got my notes here because, I can't remember all this. All right. So if you see my worksheet, you would have seen the matrix. But basically what I want you to do now is this is where I get you to organize it even further. It's going to help when you're putting things into your diary. So, let's see how we go here. Yeah, we're doing our best. We're doing good. All right. So you've probably seen this before, this matrix that I'm about to do. So I'm going to put P for priority, and then you have E for effort. And hopefully you can see the E, right? So what you have is it's on a scale of like high priority, low priority. Just checking you can see it. Low effort, high effort. There we go. So now, especially if any of you work in corporate, you have likely seen this before. Here's the interesting thing about this matrix. I remember being taught this matrix and it did not help me. Again, it didn't help me because I'm trying to do the to-do dump truck in here. It just doesn't work. Again, you want to guide your brain. So now we've got that focus. You've got some priorities. It's for work. I'm just giving you my example here. It's for work. It's for a week, say. So what you have is you have high priority, low effort, and they are called, I'm checking you can see this, your quick wins. So your quick wins, again, high priority, low effort. They're typically your very urgent tasks, but they can easily get done. They don't take too long to get done. Versus your high priority and high effort major projects. They are the ones that, look, and I'm giving you, for you out there on the audience, it might be different for you. I'm giving you my corporate perspective. Major projects for me, I have a project, it'll go over a number of weeks. And I have to schedule in time each week to work on a certain amount of things that will, lead to that project. They require a lot of effort. I will suggest as well, and I'll talk about this a little bit later on, sometimes it is helpful to actually schedule, as part of this, it's scheduling in time to organize the major project as well. And that depends on you, and you'll know what works best for you. But sometimes I will actually I'll have here, organize project X. And then we'll see later on how we, schedule in our diary, etc. But I will schedule that in to actually plan and execute. Sometimes, not everyone has to do that. For me, and in my world, I need that extra planning time. The reason I say that is because sometimes I would do this and I would get really stumped because I'm trying to do organization of a really big project that actually needs dedicated time, almost dedicated thinking time to that project. Versus this is to do priorities, what we're doing for the whole week. Long version, short version is what I'm trying to say is it's totally fine with your major projects to lock in time to actually have a think and do a mini planning session almost of your major project as well. That's what I have found helpful because in the past I would try to do it here and then I'd freak out. The long story on that one. Anyway, then we've got low priority, low effort. They're your fill-ins. Come on, Ken. Don't fail me now. Okay, here's the thing with fill-ins. I'll talk about this in more detail. You should be booking these in advance. What I mean by that is even if your to-do list is for the week, sometimes it is okay to be looking at this fill-in and maybe booking it in. Again, my corporate example, I might book a fill-in 2 weeks in advance to do. The reason I do that is what's going to happen is if you don't take care of your fill-ins are going to turn into quick wins. And then this is going to be too much. So if these are kind of like buckets of water, you kind of want to be, it'll help you in the long run if you just set some time to do the fill-in in the future. But having it here, seeing this all on paper is really going to help you so that later on, this fill-in isn't like a massive like heap of quick wins. And then you're just like, oh my God. Yeah. And then high effort, low priority are thankless tasks. Oh, my just spelling. I'll be getting better on making this bigger for y'all. So I want to rename this thankless tasks because really it's thinking time. And again, this is my corporate example, but these are things that you just never have time to do, but are going to produce the most value for the company. I schedule at least 1 hour a week to look at these thankless tasks, or like I just call it in my diary, thinking time. When I started to implement this process, I started to do this, blocking in the hour to do like the, thankless tasks and thinking time. This is what got me promoted. Because this, even though it is, my brain's going here, high effort, oh my God, high effort, low, even though it's a lower priority, it's probably going to be giving you something the most value. So when I talk to my clients, especially from a corporate background, I'm talking about like, it's like, how do we optimize processes? How do we make things faster and easier? It's those things that create so much value, but there's just so much going on that we just don't have time to touch it. But if you are locking in just a little bit of time to just take a look at it, it's going to be beneficial in the long run, and it is going to help you as well. And it's going to be, again, when I talk about the before and after, this is what creates real like value. This is where people see you going the extra mile. And oh my God, it's like you're going the extra mile, but you're working less because you're sharpening your axe. You're using the system, you're using your prefrontal cortex, and you're getting planned. So what you do then, you take your to-do priorities, you put them in this little matrix, right? And again, it's like hand holding. It's another guiding thing. It's like you take all your priorities. It's like, okay, what is something that I can quickly do versus a major project? I strongly suggest, please keep it simple. It's just a one line. Don't do what I did and try to write all the details in the matrix. I just worked myself up. It was not fun. It's just a one teeny tiny sentence, like major projects, project A, add campaign, planning time. Like really simple. That is what you want when you're doing this stuff. Okay. So you've got your matrix, you've organized everything, you know what you're doing, know what it's for. Then we get into the what I call plan and organize section. Because what we're going to do is we're going to plan out our day or week. Again, I recommend doing this at, say, on a Monday. I do it at 9 o'clock in the morning. I do it for an hour. Some people do it for 30 minutes. I do it for a full hour. I really, I need that time. I need that thinking time to just go through everything that's going on. And you're going to book things into your diary. You're going to treat it like a meeting. So, but you're going to do it in this order. Because I bet you're here and you're booking in everything that you have to work on first. No, what you're going to book in first is your breaks and appointments. That's number one. You need to eat, okay? No eating at your desk. And obviously, yes, you book in the break that works for you. But what I found worked for me, so I'm an analyst and I do coding, I have to take my lunch break and it has to be my hour lunch break. If I get a meeting booked over 12 o'clock, that's fine. I will shift other things so I have that break. It doesn't matter, but I know for me to work efficiently, for me to sharpen my axe, I need to take a break. So I really work to honor that. That'll take time. I know the first time I did it was really hard, and I have worksheets to support that. And I strongly recommend, if you find this challenging, if you find it challenging to honor a break, can you try 20 minutes? Can you just 20 minutes? See what happens. Oh my God, did everything blow up? No. And then extend it really slowly, then 25 minutes. I used to overwork till 9 o'clock at night. And I realized finishing at 5 was not going to work for me. My brain was like, nope. And this was before coaching as well. So I did basically exposure therapy. I went, all right, can I leave at 8:30? And I could do that. And then I was like, okay, well, can I leave at 8? And I brought my way all the way up to 6:30. And I did that over a couple of months. That's what you want to do as well with your breaks. Play around with it. What you're going to do is you're going to prove to yourself that a bad thing doesn't happen. Nothing, what the fears that your brain are thinking about isn't happening, and you can start to slowly work towards that. So, 1, book in a break. Do it. The second thing you want to book in, which you may have added in the matrix, and it's totally fine if you haven't, is general admin. Now, here's the thing. I don't actually add that in my matrix. The reason being is general admin to me, at least in my world, is it's organic and it is breathing. What I mean by that is I will set up maybe about 30 minutes in the morning each day to check my emails, 30 minutes in the afternoon to check my emails, and maybe like 15, 20 minutes to respond to any queries. That is what I mean by general admin. And it's just something that you kind of like email is how we communicate to people, especially in like a pandemic. It's just setting time to do that task. If you are doing that intermittently when you are doing your work, the challenge is it is going to interrupt your flow when you're working on something, especially if you're an analyst like myself. If I'm working on something, if I'm coding something, that I found was really challenging. That was like slowing down my process. So I needed to book time to actually do that. And again, if you have a challenge of leaving people on read, I have a worksheet for you to show you how to do that. Okay. Then after all of that, then you can book in your matrix. So after all that, then you can start planning out your matrix, and you do it in the order, that little box where it was like quick wins, major projects, fill-ins, thankless tasks. That's the order that you do it in. That is what's most helpful. And you just, you block out your calendar and you treat it like a meeting. And the first time you do it, probably not going to be like super amazing or fabulous, but you will get better at it. The worksheets will help manage your mind around everything you're trying to do. And remember, you're learning to do this for you. I'm giving you the tools of how to do this, but you also need to nurture it and foster it for yourself, kind of like a garden, right? I'm giving you like the bedding and the soil and stuff like that, but you need to do it in a way that works for you. I don't know, maybe having a no break, but like leaving earlier works for you. So some people it does. For me, I need a break in the middle of the day. It's just like, it's almost relearning, how do I be a sharp axe? How do I relearn how to do that? Because I think how we're originally taught, especially in like corporate society, is it's almost like robots. Like we just do all this work, but we're not doing it efficiently. So you need to work, how do I become the most efficient for myself? And then there's this execute. And execute is where you do it. You stick to the schedule. So you've got it all planned for the week. You know exactly what you need to do, and then you do it. I want to make this really, really clear. Human brain is really bad at planning and like making a decision and then executing at the same time. That is why we do this like first thing in the morning. That's why there's a thing called decision fatigue. You're not very good at doing that. So we do all the planning in advance. So all you have to do is stick to the list. Now, yes, you have a human brain. So sticking to the list will be hard. That's totally fine. Again, work in progress. You go the worksheets, you do the mind management, etc. Don't be judging yourself. You work with it here. But you know what you need to do, and you just follow through. You put yourself on do not disturb. You don't respond to emails. You do your work. You remember that you have the scheduled time to check your emails. And that's, look, here's the thing. If everyone followed the system or all organizational systems like robots, it would get done. But because we have human brains and we have thoughts and we have fears and we have worries, that's what comes in and tries to kind of almost derail the whole process. Because you're working on a project and all of a sudden you see it pop up in the corner, a message from that person, and you have a lot of thoughts about that person. So you really want to please that person. And you're like, oh, should I respond? I don't know. I got all this work to do. And then they're going to ask this and blah, blah, blah. All of that happens. So this is where the mind management is really important, and like keeping your time sacred. Now, if you've got my pack, there's something else I needed to accommodate for, which is happening with my clients and myself. And I could not find this anywhere. And it was so frustrating. And it's called How to Handle Little Work Emergencies. I just call them all little emergencies, but yeah. All right. What are little emergencies, little work emergencies? Okay. I don't want to call them actual emergencies because they're not actual emergencies, right? This is when crap hits the fan at work and it ruins the whole schedule for the day. So what happens is you have scheduled your day and you're like, great, I'm going to work on these things. And then all of a sudden your boss comes to you and there's been a big emergency with this ad campaign. And now all of a sudden you have to be working on that. That happened to me every day for a week and everything got shifted out. Don't stress. I got you. What you want to do is the time you had dedicated originally to the other tasks that you planned, it will now go to this work emergency. When that happens, what I want you to do is just take 2 seconds. I have a OneNote page. I just call it like little work emergencies. And what I do is I just note down the task I was going to complete and why it got shifted. That's it. That's all you have to do. This is so important because you will forget. And then later on down the line, your manager is going to ask you what's happening with this. And if you have a poor working memory like me, you go to forget what happened. And then you're going to start having all these thoughts and you're going to start feeling really bad. You're like, oh, I don't really know where this is. Versus you have a list of facts, literal facts that you can just reiterate as to why this happened. It's also great because then you have this as part of the done, which I'll go through. And it just gets you to look at I'm making this up. Say you're employed to work specifically on this project and all these other things are popping up. Well, you have all this evidence and you can know yourself or bring that to your manager, whatever you need to do to be like, hey, this is what I need to be working on project X and I'm actually doing all this other stuff. Like something needs to change here. So this is super important. Now you might be saying to yourself, okay, well, why book in a schedule if it's going to change, Michelle? Because humans are really bad at doing things and executing them at the same time. All you do need to do is just shift a thing out. It's like Tetris, right? You got your little, think of my calendar, the little boxes and the bubbles. And then all I do is just very quickly rename it. So it's like project A, now it's project X. And then that just gets shifted for the week. Or maybe that it's like, nope, can't do it at all. And then I just note that down. That's it. That's like a very minor amount of changing an execution versus like having to be like, okay, now I have to redo the whole rest of the week. It's just Tetris. That's all it is. All right. Now we move on to done. Yay. I love done. Not enough people do done. What we do at the end of each day, similar to the little work emergencies, is I just want you to note 2 things. And it's just very quick. I have a done list. I have like a done and like a work emergency kind of list in my OneNote. It's just, I completed. Ooh, I'm not very good with the writing here. I completed, you list it out. And then I did not complete. I did not complete. That's it. This is like really important. Not enough people do this. One, because you're looking at what you haven't done, and that's causing all the stress and anxiety. And you need to start training your brain to see a massive amount of stuff that you are doing and really sit and celebrate that. Two, at the end of the week, you'll have a list of things you did and didn't do. And you'll start to understand, what are these patterns? Am I being pulled into this project C too much? Is that something I need to raise with my manager? Am I needing to manage my mind more and I keep responding to these people all the time? You'll start to figure that out. You'll start to see a pattern, and then you can just make your axe sharper. You can just, as in, you can figure out, like, what is it that you need to do? Maybe you're not being compassionate with your scheduling. You're not being nice with your time. Maybe you're thinking you can do this thing in 30 minutes and it actually takes you an hour and a half. Guilty as charged. I used to do that all the time with code. I'm like, oh, I can run this in 30 minutes. No, it's a whole new piece of code I need to run. No. So the system, again, that's the easy part. It's managing your mind around this. And that's why I have a number of worksheets to help you through this. And again, you come through my list or whatever, you come sign up with me, you will, I'll be sending them through. All right. So what are the worksheets? So there are 4 key worksheets that I've created that I started to see in my clients and myself that people were really struggling with when it came to sticking with this system. And the first one is urgency, or as I like to call it, leaving people on read. But really, it's urge management, really. So that's all this is. Urgency is just urge management. That's it. So, okay, what is that? When will I need to use this, right? And in the worksheet, you'll see it's like when to use this. You use this when you have trouble sticking to your scheduled time. And that could be because you want to work on something else, because you're bored and you don't like this task, because you want to answer emails, because you want to respond to people. This is your brain trying to hijack everything. This is your stress response wanting to just throw out the plan and say, we have to answer that email because it was from so-and-so and it's really, really important. And oh my God, they're going to think this and it's going to be terrible and blah, 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 blah. We just need to learn. It's like coaching our limbic system. It's coaching ourselves how to manage this. That's it. So what we'll go through and what goes through in the worksheet is we talk about observing the urge. We talk about the thoughts you have around it and why it's a problem. I then get you to look at the emotions you feel with this urge and some of the sensations in your body. Just really start to get that out on paper. You can type it, but I do again suggest you write it as well with this one. Again, something to do with like writing it out. And seriously, something to do when you are in your head, you're in your head. Well, when you write it out on paper, you start to conceptualize it a little bit differently. Then what I get you to go through is what happens right out. Because here's the thing, we aren't seeing our own patterns because we're humans, right? Write out what happens when you like resist and like white knuckle through the urge versus you do the urge. Like, what are you thinking, feeling, doing? Like, what is actually happening? Write that out on paper. And then you'll be surprised at how many people are like, oh, every time I do this and so messages me, like, I'm doing it. It's like, yes. You are like, your brain is just trying to hijack the situation. Then I get you to observe how you actually want to feel instead. Like when this urge comes up, how do you want to like manage it? How do you want to be with it? How do you want to really like start to sit with that? And there's like a little mini kind of exercise that takes you through it to help you understand that and look at, all right, when this pops up, when I'm thinking I need to go answer so-and-so, I know how to coach myself. I know what I need to do. I know how it's exposure therapy. Think of the opposite. You're too scared to take a lunch break, so you like take 20 minutes. Similar to that in a way. And sometimes I do tell people, if you can't go the full mile and ignore the whole thing, maybe you sit with the urge, continue to do what you actually want to do for 20 minutes and then do the thing. Like you play around with it. You experiment. You let your brain be like, all right, brain, I know you're telling me this, but if I wait 30 minutes before I respond, or if I wait a day, is the world going to die? You play around with that. And then you start to see that, oh, wait, no, I can. Like, this is okay. This is allowed. And it's the same with compassionate scheduling. This is my favorite one. This is one that a lot of people are struggling with. So this is when you overbook yourself. You aren't completing your tasks on time and you have absolutely no time for yourself. This is my favorite. I loved creating this. You want to know why? Because you get to look at basically how would you schedule yourself for a friend? That's what compassionate scheduling is, really. Because here's the problem. You're in your own head and you're treating yourself like crap. You're not being very nice to yourself. You're like, oh, let me book every single thing, blah, 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 blah. So I ask you, like, how would you schedule this for a friend? Oh, a little question mark there. How would you schedule this for a friend? If this was, say, your child's calendar, what would you be saying to them? Would you be happy with it? They've overbooked themselves? They have no time to eat? I don't think you would. So what I get you to do is I get you to look at your current schedule. And I get you to write what you think of it. And I get you to ask yourself, why are you booking your time this way? Are you like accomplishing this? Like, are you getting work done this way? Or are you like, what's happening? Are you burning out potentially? If this was your best friend's calendar, what would you say to them? And what advice would you give them? That is really key. And would you calendar this way? Probably not. Then I get you to explore some of your thoughts around how you're scheduling right now and start to really pull that out. Again, when you're in your own head, you're not seeing that. You're not seeing any of the thoughts. And then I get you to ask yourself, how could you be a little bit more kinder to yourself when scheduling time in? Like, pretend you're an assistant for your friend and they've asked you to book in the calendar. How would you book it in for your friend? Or some clients have said, how would you book it in if this was your child and they came up to you? How would you book it in? You're going to not book in a lunch break? You're going to have it completely packed for them? I don't think you would be. And if you are resistant to wanting to book it in more compassionately, why is that? What are some of the fears, worries, and thoughts popping out amongst that? Getting those out on paper are so powerful. Being able to look at that for what it is, for me, it was a little bit of just buffering, if I'm honest. I realized I just wanted to keep working to buffer from other stuff. I was a workaholic. And I had a couple of thoughts around I need to be basically a robot and get all this output out. And I didn't even know I had those thoughts. That's the thing. This was just my pattern. This was my habit. So we get you to kind of look at that habit. And it may not seem as powerful now, but your brain's going to take that away and be like, hang on a minute. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing it this way anyway? That's a bit weird. And you're going to start to, there's a couple of things here as well that will guide you through just around your thoughts and how you want to like feel and stuff. But it's that starting, like once you put it on paper and start, it's almost like you've given, this is going to sound so lame. If you've seen like the Matrix, the red pill, the blue pill, it's like giving your brain, I think it's the red pill he takes. Yes, the red pill. And your brain's like, I don't know if I want to continue doing this. You know, just having that as a start is really powerful. Then, did I write it down? I did write it down. You can see I wrote it a little bit bigger. I tried this time. The next one is priorities. This is when, okay, sometimes life hits you and there's just so much going on and your stress is out of control and it can be really hard to determine what is the most important. When you're in an anxious state, it's really, really hard to do that because you're not using your prefrontal cortex. So I have a worksheet that actually helps you through this to figure out, especially what feels more important or not, and to just, help you. And what you want to do is ask yourself 4 questions. I'm not going to write the full question, but the first one in is like, what is your time frame? Ugh. What's the time frame you're working on? And there's an example in the worksheet where literally, if it's up to 2 things, you just have one here and it's like time frame and then the other, and then you can just like compare the two. So I have an example there. Then you want to ask yourself, when is the item due? Then you want to ask yourself, what is the outcome for not getting the thing done? I'm just going to write outcome. This is really important. Do not make the outcome emotionally loaded. Do not say my boss will get angry at me like everyone wants to do. Keep it factual. How do I keep that specific? Factual. My boss will get angry at me changes to a slide will be missing from the pack. Like, facts are what you want. Feed your brain some facts, not emotionally loaded stuff. Start to get the prefrontal cortex to turn on a little bit more. And then the fourth question is, can it be pushed out? I'm just going to write pushed out. Just 4 simple questions when you're trying to decide between the two to help you kind of guide your brain through that. And then you have I usually have like 2 items. I would do this, and then I just like put like a little line down the middle and I just like write them out. I don't think you realize how powerful this is, especially if you're someone who thinks everything is important and everything must be done. Like, I would write it out and be like, oh, no, the pack for the senior leaders is very much more important than the code that isn't due for like, a couple of weeks, but I scheduled time in to work on it now. And that can be challenging for some people because sometimes you get into this stress state. You have all these thoughts and you believe the thoughts are true. Like, I have to do this thing, like, etc. Like, I have to do all the things, but it can kind of cloud your judgment. So this guides you through it. And then the fourth one is other people's thoughts. This is also really powerful. I love all of this, but this is for basically, I teach you how to like really just process emotion. Because what I mean by other people's thoughts really is it's like, how do you handle yourself when you're fearful of other people's reactions? Like when you need to articulate that this deadline is like, it's not going to work, or you need to articulate a boundary. Like, I don't accept calls at like 9:00 at night or something like that. But you don't want to do it because you're too afraid. That's what I saw my clients and myself really struggling with. It's like, I will do like, I want to stick to like compassionate scheduling, etc. But it's like, but I'm really worried about like this person's going to get angry and so. Ultimately, that's their own experience. That's their own thoughts. You're worried about how you're going to feel when that happens or if that happens. Right? So your brain is like making you feel crap now. So you don't do the thing because it actually thinks it's a threat to your survival, but you're just experiencing pain right now. So what we want to do, again, it's a little bit of exposure therapy. It's a little bit of like, okay, if we do go ahead with this. And what I suggest with people is you might not feel comfortable, for example, to go to a senior manager and be like someone really, really senior, I don't know, like the boss of the company, and basically be like, no, I can't do this. But you might feel okay to tell maybe your direct manager or stakeholder on this smaller thing. It's working your brain up. And that's what I found a lot of success with this stuff. Because you'll see, I'll guide you through like thoughts and all that and what you need to think and how you want to feel, etc. But I also suggest to my clients, it is okay to sometimes start small, like little baby steps. Like I talk about exposure therapy in the sense that I'll give you the example of the fact that person who's afraid of spiders, that's what I was trying to think of, the phobia, arachnophobia, right? Person who's afraid of spiders. If a person is severely afraid of spiders, you're not going to put a spider in their hand. Maybe you show them a photo of a spider through a glass window and you build up from there. And sometimes with some of these like models or how we want to like go and what we actually want to do, sometimes it's okay. And what I did was I built myself up. I would start to say no to maybe my direct manager. And then it's like, oh, my brain's like, oh, we don't die when we say, when we articulate our needs and boundaries. We don't die. Shocking news. And then it gets more habitual, more natural. And then you get to a point where it's like, no, apologize. I really want to help you. I can't do X because of so and so. And you are articulating your needs. You are growing your little organizational garden. So, what I go through in other people's thoughts, really, we look at what the problem is and why. We take a look at what we would be thinking and feeling if it did happen. And then what I get you to do is actually list the worst, neutral, and best scenarios. And I want you to write a little story about it. Write a story about like best scenario if I say no, neutral, etc. Then I get you to do a little bit of a model around the worst case scenario, but mostly exploring the thoughts and the feelings around it. And there's a bit of a mini meditation in the worksheet that I take you through to actually like process some of this emotion coming up from you. So what a lot of people weren't doing, some I saw in my clients, was they were running away from this fear. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You need to listen to your body because it's going to scream louder. Emotions are like a house fire. And sometimes we run away from the house fire and then just the fire spreads out. And then we're wondering why the whole forest is on fire. It's like we need to go and look at the fire. We need to observe it politely. We need to acknowledge it. We need to do some of that processing. And then I get you to take a look at the neutral and best case scenario. And I take a look at how you actually want to like potentially think and feel. And I want you to take some of those new models and actually experiment with them. So for example, if you are feeling, if the way I frame it, and I write like a little story, which you'll see in the worksheet, is if you're a robot, right, and you could turn on and off your emotions, and if you could feel whatever emotion you want to feel, what would you feel? Say it's confidence. And let's say the scenario is like you want to say no to a deadline. If you're feeling confident, what are you doing? Well, you're saying no. Or maybe you're politely saying no, you're not ruminating, you're articulating your needs, like you're not even giving it a second thought. And what do you think will happen from that? In that confident, mindset, what do you think you'll create for yourself? What results will you get? Like maybe it's like the deadline gets pushed out. And then you take a look at what would you need to think to feel that way? What is a thought you can think of in order to feel that little bit of confidence? And then what I always encourage my clients to do is, okay, go enact this model, practice this thought, take the actions. The actions especially are really key in this scenario. And again, you don't have to do it with a super senior manager. You can do it with like, whatever you feel, as a starting point is you'll be practicing this thought, you'll do the thing 99.99999% of the time, the worst thing doesn't happen. And you're creating a new neural network in your brain. And your brain's like, I can say no and not die. Your brain, your limbic system is starting to learn that saying no isn't going to kill you. So yes, so this is everything that I've got planned and I've gone through with you. Again, if you are on my mailing list, you will be getting this tomorrow morning and I will be sending you the video very soon. Just wanted to I'll just check if there's any questions right now, post them in the Q&A. But if not, I want to say a big thank you to everyone for attending and a massive thank you to the Life Coach University. Again, they're an amazing platform. Go check them out. They have free resources. We have some amazing coaches on there. So definitely check them out. And I will also separately be having my own little Instagram story, Life Coach Uni, and I'll showcase some of the awesome stuff that they're doing. So if you're like following me with me, you can take a look at that as well, just to find out more information. But thank you everyone for attending, and have a great, this has been super helpful, jam-packed with information. Thank you so much. Yeah, have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, night, wherever you are in the world. Take care. Bye.